Peace, Sports with Flavor. I'm your host, Diadalifu. All right, let's get into this NFL playoffs. All right, first of all, as you can see, I'm a Raider fan. The team didn't make the playoffs again, thanks to John Gruden and going for a field goal instead of a touchdown. It knocked us out the playoffs. But anyway, we had some exciting playoffs last week with the Wildcard playoffs. We had the Rams going into Seattle, beating Seattle in Seattle, which was an upset. We had Buffalo and Indianapolis. They had a shootout with Phillip Rivers and Josh Allen. Bills came out on top. We had Tampa Bay and Washington, which was a good game with Brady getting the victory. We also had probably one of the boringest games, or the blowout game was Chicago in New Orleans. New Orleans, put Chicago away, I think 21-9. Baltimore went into Tennessee, shut down the leading rusher, Derrick Henry, held him only to 40 yards. Lamar Jackson and his legs and arms, they came out with the win. In the last game, Cleveland at Pittsburgh. We all know Pittsburgh started off 11-0 and then lost, I think, 5 out of 6 games. So, Pittsburgh, I know they let their fans down, starting off strong and looking at the Browns. The Browns is the Browns, but the Browns is the new Browns with Baker Mayfield and beating Pittsburgh. So when we come back, we're going to come in, talk about the divisional playoffs. 4 games will be played. 2 teams had got a bye, and we'll come back and we'll talk about division playoffs in a minute. Okay, Sports with Flavor is back. Remember to like, share, follow Sports with Flavor on all platforms: Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. All right, so let's get into these divisional playoff games. All right, the first game of the day is going to be the Los Angeles Rams and the Green Bay Packers. Now, being from LA, I'm not a big Ram fan. I wish them well, but this game will be interesting. Game comes on 1 o'clock. They'll be in Lambeau Field, where Aaron Rodgers is very comfortable in that cold weather. Like I said, the Rams went on last week and upset the Seahawks 30-20, with Jared Goff coming off the bench with his thumb injury and leading his team into a victory. This will be very different this week. The Packers had a first round bye, clinching the first seed, so they had time to rest, scout, evaluate the Rams. Also, the Rams, what we thought was going to be Aaron Rodgers versus Jared Goff, or we thought it was going to be Aaron versus Aaron, meaning Aaron Rodgers versus Aaron Donald. But with Donald hurting his ribs last week, I don't know how effective he's going to be. I don't know if he's going to be able to apply the pressure. The Rams do have the number 1 defense, but without a healthy Aaron Donald applying pressure, I don't know what the Rams defense is going to do. Green Bay is 7-1 at home. They only lost 1 game at home this year. We know the advantage goes to Green Bay in the cold weather, whether it might be snowing, cold. Aaron Rodgers is used to that. Even though Jared Goff has played at Berkeley, I don't know how that thumb and in the cold, I don't know how that's going to help. Also, Aaron Rodgers will, he'll come to the line. He'll call a lot of audibles, depending on how the Rams defense and their scheme of things, what are they going to do to apply pressure on Aaron Rodgers. Now, we know Jalen Ramsey is one of the top cornerbacks in the league, so of course he'll be matched up with Devontae Adams, who was the 4th leading receiver in the league. Devontae Adams had 1,374 yards and 18 touchdowns. So Jalen Ramsey is going to have to try to lock him up. So let's just go over some stats with the Rams. Okay, the Rams have a rookie running back, Cam Akers, who rushed for 625 yards and 2 touchdowns. They also got a second-year running back in Darnell Henderson, who rushed for 624 yards and 5 touchdowns. So together, they're going to have to run the ball to keep Green Bay off the field. They got receivers, Robert Woods out of USC. He had 90 receptions for almost 1,000 yards, 936 yards, 6 touchdowns. Tight end Tyler Higbee, 44 receptions for 521 yards and 5 touchdowns. But I think the Rams is going to play heavily on their defense. Free safety Johnny Johnson led the team with 105 tackles. Of course, Jalen Ramsey, 44 tackles, but he's known as a lockup cornerback. We all know what Aaron Donald can do, a healthy Aaron Donald. He had 13 and a half sacks this year. But Leonard Floyd had 10 and a half sacks. And, of course, Michael Brockers had 51 tackles and 5 sacks. So the Rams' number one defense, passing defense, giving up only 190 yards. Third in rushing, only giving up 91 yards. And second in the league in sacks with 53. Heavily on the Rams' defense because we don't know what Goff is going to do. I think they backup is maybe Blake Bortles. So we just have to see with the Rams' defense. The Rams' defense definitely needs to score points to help Green Bay win. Now let's look at some numbers from Green Bay. Of course, they got Pro Bowlers and Aaron Rodgers, Devontae Adams, linebackers, Zadarius Smith, and Jair Alexander. So they have Pro Bowl players all around. Aaron Rodgers, 2-time Pro Bowler, 4th in the league in passing Aaron Jones, running back. He was 4th in the league in rushing, gaining 1,000 yards. Wide receiver, of course, Devontae Adams. He was 5th in the league in receptions at 1,374 yards and 18 touchdowns. So him and Jalen Ramsey going to be locked up, and we're going to see who wins that matchup. Linebacker Zadarius Smith led the team with 12 and a half sacks. We see what he's going to do. Linebacker Chris Barnes, 78 tackles. And of course, Green Bay had the number one offense in the league, averaging like 31.8 points a game. Now, in playoffs, it always comes down to me sometimes the field goal kickers. Green Bay has a veteran in Matt Crosby, 14 seasons out of Colorado, so he's used to the cold. I think right now he's 16 for 16 with his longest being 57 yards. The Rams, on the other hand, have a second-year kicker and Matt Guy, who's out of Colorado, so he's probably used to the cold weather. And he's 17 for 19 right now, and his longest is 58 yards. So with the offensive matchup and the number one offense, number one defense, playing in Green Bay, I'm going to give Green Bay the edge. I think they'll win by 6 or more points. The Rams, been up and down. But my pick for this game is going to be the Green Bay Packers. We'll come back and we'll talk about the second game in just a second. All right, so for the second divisional game of the day, we're going to have the number 5 team, Baltimore Ravens, versus the number 2 team, the Buffalo Bills. Now, Buffalo, like I said, won last week. Well, first, the Ravens, like I said, the Ravens went into Tennessee and held the leading rusher, Henry, to only 40 yards. And after being down by 10 points, they came back behind Lamar Jackson, 136 yards rushing with 1 TD. And the big one is right before halftime, he scrambled for a 48-yard touchdown to tie the score at 10 a game. Like I said, Buffalo, they had to hold off the Colts and Phillip Rivers last week. They ended up winning 27-24. Both quarterbacks, Phillip Rivers and Josh Allen, threw for over 300 yards and 2 touchdowns. But the difference was Josh Allen also rushed over 50 yards in a touchdown. He accounted for all 3 of the Buffalo Bills touchdowns. So this should be a good Sports with Flavor quarterback game with 2 young quarterbacks in Josh Allen, who's very hot, and Lamar Jackson, who's probably the only quarterback to rush over 1,000 yards twice. He did it again this year. He rushed for 1,000 yards. I think he was 9th in the league in rushing as a quarterback. The Ravens have the number 1 rushing offense in the league, behind rookie running back Ohio State J.K. Dobbins, who rushed for 805 yards and 9 touchdowns. Running back Gus Edwards rushed for 723 yards and 6 touchdowns. And of course, like I said, Lamar Jackson, who rushed over 1,000 yards and 7 rushing touchdowns. The Bills will rely heavily on the passing game and playmaker of one of the famous playoff win catches we ever seen in Stephon Diggs. Now, Stephon Diggs led the league in receptions, 127, led the league in yards, 1,535 yards with 8 touchdowns. Right behind him, I think, was Kelsey, tight end. So the Bills also have other receivers they can get the ball to. Wide receiver Cole Beasley, 82 receptions, almost 1,000 yards, 967 yards, and 4 touchdowns. But what we need to watch out for is they have a rookie receiver, Gabriel Davis, who had 35 receptions for almost 600 yards, 599 yards, and 7 touchdowns. He's from UCF. All right, so let's go over some stats with the Ravens. Of course, we know quarterback Lamar Jackson threw for 2,700 yards, 26 TDs, 9 interceptions. This is only his 3rd season out of Louisville. He just had a birthday, January 7th, and like we said, he rushed for 1,005 yards. Rookie Ohio State running back J.K. Dobbins, we said, rushed for 805 yards and 5 TDs. Gus Edwards, 3rd year out of Rutgers, 723 yards, 6 TDs. The Ravens have a lot of young players, usually 4 years experience or under. Receiver Marquise Brown, his 2nd year out of Oklahoma, 769 yards and 8 TDs. Tight end Mark Edwards, 3rd year out of Oklahoma again, 58 receptions, 701 yards and 7 TDs. Wide receiver Miles Boykin, 19 receptions, 266 yards, 4 TDs, his 2nd year out of Notre Dame. And of course, we used to the Ravens defense being big time and leading them into wins and stuff, but this is more of an offensive team in the Ravens. But they got some defensive players, led by rookie linebacker Patrick Queen, 105 tackles, 3 sacks. He's a rookie out of LSU. They have a 4th year safety in Chuck Carr, who has 96 tackles, and a 3rd year player out of Texas, Deshaun Elliott, who had 80 tackles. Now let's move over and talk about the Buffalo Bills offense. Buffalo's offense, like I said, with Josh Allen, young player who can throw and pass the ball, makes him just as effective as Lamar Jackson. Not as effective with the speed, but I think he could possibly be a better passer, pocket passer, and finding his targets. So the Bills are going to try to have to contain Lamar Jackson, keep him in the pocket, don't let him get on the outside where he can make plays happen and move with his feet. Try to contain Lamar Jackson, keep him inside. But Josh Allen, on the other hand, he can throw on the run, he can run the ball, and he has great receivers in Cole Beasley and Stephon Diggs. So let's give you some numbers on Josh Allen and the Bills. Josh Allen threw for 4,500 yards, 37 TDs, and 10 interceptions. He also rushed for 421 yards with 8 TDs. Running back Devin Singletary rushed for 687 yards, 2 TDs, and he also caught 37 passes for 269 yards. This is his third season out of Florida Atlantic. Rookie running back out of Utah, Zach Morris, rushed for 481 yards with 4 TDs. So they have some young running backs. Hopefully they can protect Josh Allen and keep the offense moving. The defense is big for Buffalo. They got 2 players with over 100 tackles. Linebacker out of his third season out of Virginia Tech, Tremaine Edwards, had 119 tackles, who led the team. But he was right behind him was free safety Jordan Poyer, who had 118 tackles and 2 interceptions, and he's from Oregon State. Cornerback Johnson had 93 tackles in his third year at Weber State. So once again, I did mention one of the key players for the Ravens on defense, which we all know, Marcus Peters, who came from the Rams, who came from other teams, who had that key interception last week against Seattle. This is his 6th season out of Washington. But once again, when it comes to playoff, it always comes down to sometimes these kickers making or missing field goals, extra points. They both have decent kickers. The Ravens have a veteran kicker in Justin Tucker, who was his 9th season out of Texas, and right now he's 26 for 29, which is 89%. Now, on the other hand, the Bills have a rookie kicker, Tyler Bass. He's a rookie out of Georgia Southern. Right now he's 28 for 34, 82%. So if Buffalo, he's used to the cold. If it comes down to a late kick, we'll see what the rookie can do. We know what Justin Tucker, the veteran from Baltimore, can do. So this game, to me, is almost like a toss-up. We're going to find out which quarterback is going to do it with his arm, which quarterback is going to do it with his legs. We'll find out what happens, whatever team makes the least amount of turnovers. But I'm going with Lamar Jackson and the Ravens to win by 3 in Buffalo. All right, Sports with Flavor. We'll come back and we'll talk about the next games tomorrow, divisional games. Have a nice weekend. Be safe and enjoy your weekend. Peace.